Tom Cruise is certainly one of the largest stars in Hollywood, but on the subject of his non-public existence, in particular, his courting with his daughter Suri, he has been pretty quiet for years. Humans have speculated approximately in which they stand. However, now Suri has eventually damaged her silence, and what she just found out has each person speaking what did she say and does this exchange the whole lot we knew, approximately her and Tom. Let's get into it. For years, people have puzzled. What took place between Tom Cruise and his daughter, Suri, the cute little woman who turned into continuously inside the highlight suite, has grown up a long way from Hollywood and some distance from her famous dad, ever seeing that Katie Holmes left. Tom took Suri together with her rumors have swirled that his deep ties to Scientology saved them apart now. At 18, Suri has made a circulate so ambitious that it's we're given everybody speaking, which include Tom himself. Have they truly gone over? A decade without seeing every different, and what precisely did Suri do to ship shockwaves through Hollywood? Let's take a step again to in which it all began. Katie's relationship with Tom began like something out of a rom-com, besides with manner, more intensity. She as soon as gushed approximately having a crush on him in 17 mag, and some years later, she turned into engaged to High Matt, the same time as he turned into jumping on Oprah's couch like a kid on a sugar rush. The media went wild, however, being with Tom wasn't just about red carpets and whirlwind romance. It additionally intended moving into Scientology International. Katie had in no way been a part of, and that in step with many is wherein the real trouble commenced. Tom's love life has continually been a chunk of a mystery, and if you ask insiders, Scientology performed a most important role in it. The church wasn't just critical to him, it turned into nearly in-rate of his relationships. Former members have even claimed that finding Tom a spouse changed into less about falling in love and extra approximately preserving auditions. Finding a wife for Tom Cruise wasn't just about like it turned into nearly a casting name in keeping with Vanity Fair. The Church of Scientology scouted ladies who might be an awesome suit for both Cruise and the church's strict ideals. Actresses like Sofia Vergara and Scarlett Johansson had been reportedly approached, though Johansson shut that down, fast calling the declare demeaning and straight-up fiction in the meantime. Cruise's beyond marriages to Nicole Kidman and Mimi Rogers had already shown just how much the church performed a function in his relationships. Assets say Kidman's refusal to completely commit to Scientology became a deal-breaker, so by the point Katie Holmes entered the photograph, one element became clear: being with Tom intended being with Scientology, no exceptions, and before her, actress Nazanin Bonatti became allegedly placed through a weird audition process to be Cruise's companion, complete with strict policies and excessive tracking that dating failed to take off. However, for Katie nicely, this was simply the beginning. Their romance moved at lightning velocity, and in 2005, Tom gave the arena that unforgettable second on the Oprah Winfrey Show, overcome with excitement. He did what any smitten guy might do. He jumped up and down on Oprah's couch like a kid on a sugar high, fists pumping, grinning like a man who had just located caffeine. He declared his love for holes inside the most theatrical manner possible. Oprah, someplace among entertained and slightly involved, watched as he stored going. Then, to make things even more dramatic, he ran backstage and pulled Katie out in front of the target audience, wherein she hugged him with an awkward smile. It was bizarre. It turned into chaotic, and it instantly became one of the maximum cringeworthy but iconic moments in Communicate show history. Fanatics had been cut up a few idea. It changed into adorable, others concept. It became a PR nightmare, even Paramount Studios, who had hoped Cruise might be promoting War of the Worlds, had to deal with the fallout, while unexpectedly no one cared approximately extraterrestrial beings invading Earth. They simply desired to recognize what turned into happening with Tom. However, the surprises failed to stop there. Later that year, Cruise proposed to Holmes inside the most over-the-top way viable on top of the Eiffel Tower with a 5-carat yellow diamond ring. Subtle, right? The media went wild, and shortly once they announced they've been expecting their first baby. However, right, here's where matters were given genuinely exciting. Cruise, ever the hands-on dad to be, casually noted that he offered a sonogram machine, so he ought to, for my part, screen their infant's improvement at home. Docs had been quick to factor out that perhaps sonogram need to be left to specialists. However, Tom promised he'd donate the machine to a sanatorium afterwards, so that you realize all good. And then came the birth itself. On April 18th, 2006, Katie gave beginning to their daughter Suri under complete silence following a Scientology practice that claimed any noise during labor to negatively affect the child. At the same time, as Holmes reportedly agreed to it, people could not assist but wonder turned into she in reality, on board, or become she. Simply going along with Tom's world as time went on, the weight of his spiritual expectations regarded to take its toll. No matter their picture-perfect appearances, the cracks had been starting to expose, and rumors of tension saved swirling and speaking. Of tension, Katie's mother and father were not precisely throwing confetti over this whirlwind romance from the start. Searching returned, they would possibly have had a point. Katie Holmes's mother and father weren't exactly pleased, approximately. Her whirlwind romance with Tom Cruise, and actually, can you blame them as devout Catholics that they had some severe worries, specifically about Tom's deep ties to Scientology? It wasn't pretty much their daughter dating a film megastar they involved. She was stepping into a whole new international. They couldn't help matters were given even greater awkward because the couple's extravagant 2006 wedding in Italy approached. Rumors swirled that her dad and mom might not even display up. Their largest fear changed into that Scientology might take over Katie's lifestyles. Swapping Sunday Mass for Scientology auditing periods did not take a seat properly with them, but ultimately, they confirmed up at the practice session, dinner. Kate's dad, Marty Holmes, gave a heartfelt speech doing his high quality to maintain matters warm and supportive, even though he wasn't exactly Tom's largest fan for a short second. It gave the impression of they have been placing their issues aside. However, if this wedding become presupposed to carry everyone together, what happened subsequent simply made matters even weirder. Now allows communicate about that wedding ceremony as it became lots we're speaking approximately a 3.5 million Italian citadel wedding ceremony filled with A-listing visitors, and enough luxurious to make a royal jealous, but underneath all that glitz and glamour there had been plenty of pink flags. First there has been Katie's late stroll down the aisle, consistent with actress Leah Remini, who turned into still a Scientologist lower. Back then the put-off felt like an eternity. Meanwhile, Tom simply stood at the altar smiling like a person who had rehearsed this second lots. Then there was the visitor list drama. Tom had seemingly, for my part, requested Remy to convey Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony because you understand what's a marriage without a little superstar community, and allows now not forget the vows in one, in all, the most unique moments of the night. Tom reportedly advised Katie ladies need garments and food, gentle happiness, and frills upon a comb, a cat that was part of his promise to her. Now not exactly in sickness and in fitness, notwithstanding, all that the wedding was undeniably extravagant. Katie rocked 2 custom Giorgio Armani Robosaur. Even toddler Suri got her designer dress. Guests defined the nighttime as magical, with Leah Rem later saying it became so past what your mind ought to compute to the out of doors international. It looked like Katie's fairy story wedding ceremony had come authentic, but here's the component about fairy stories. Sometimes they do not have happy endings. And in the back of all the incredible clothes and asked visitors, this was simply the beginning of a marriage that could quickly be filled with managed isolation and a whole lot of drama before everything. Katie Holmes gave the look of she became living a fairy story, married to one in all Hollywood's largest stars with a photo-ideal existence, but as time went on, humans close to her started out noticing something become off. She wasn't the equal, bubbly, confident woman they once knew. Alternatively, she became quiet, withdrawn. Even robotic lifestyles with Tom Cruise wasn't just about love and purple carpet moments. It came with an entire lot of rules, and she failed to set those policies. Scientology dictated them. Being married to Tom intended Katie wasn't simply anticipated to assist his faith. She became expected to stay it, and that intended regular oversight. Tom's handlers had been always round, even of their own home, believe, seeking to have a private conversation with your husband, whilst his crew lurks inside the historical past. Katie become not often on my own, continually shadowed by using people assigned to screen her each pass. Even reporters picked up at the extraordinary dynamic. In 2010, Moranorth had dinner with the couple and observed how fanatics continuously interrupted them, However, it wasn't the interruptions that stood out. It turned into Katie's response when, or cited how, tough it need to be to exit in public. Katie just shrugged and stated, "Oh, we do not. Go outside very a whole lot, it truly is. Now not normal, and through the years it handiest got worse." Katie distanced herself from Pal's circle of relatives in the existence she had before Tom Debindur, who had as soon as interviewed a young and superstar-eyed Katie for 17 Mag later pondered on how lots she had changed. The woman who had as soon as gushed about her goals and ambitions now regarded eerily rehearsed, repeating the equal scripted praise for Cruise like a broken record. Even Jenna Misovich Hill, the niece of Scientology's leader, took observe. Having grown up in the church, she knew exactly what kind of pressure Katie became dealing with because she were via it herself, and from the outside it became clean. Katie, become trapped then. After 5 years of marriage, she did something nobody saw coming. She made a run for it, literally. In June 2012, she stunned everyone by means of submitting for divorce, and the timing brutal. The information dropped just days before Tom's 50th birthday. Happy birthday, Tom. I hope you like surprises. In an interview later, he admitted to be 50, after which it hits you. This is it, what existence can do to you. Before everything, each Tom and Katie kept their wedding ceremony jewelry on, however the writing become on the wall for Tom, his older youngsters, Connor and Isabella, stuck by means of him, and his rep launched the announcement about how deeply saddened he become. But for Katie, it turned into like she had been reborn within days of the announcement. She was spotted in New York, looking lighter, freer, as she'd just stepped out of a 5-year lengthy hostage scenario. Buddies and fans observed the shift too. The antique Katie become returned, and with Suri, by way of her facet, she become ready for a fresh start. However, of direction, the large question remained: did Scientology play a position in the split? Truly, whilst the divorce information broke, hypothesis went wild. Humans questioned if Tom's unwavering devotion to the church had driven Katie away, and while Cruise was asked factor blank in a prison deposition if Katie left to guard Suri from Scientology, he did now not like that query. He called it offensive, insisting no person needed protection from his religion. However, in the end, even he had to confess, it became one of the reasons she left. The most important bombshell was Suri became now not working towards Scientology, and that greater than whatever made people consider. Katie had pulled off the remaining escape plan, not only for herself, however, to make positive her daughter in no way were given caught up in the church's grip. And similar to that, Katie Holmes went from Tom Cruise's wife to the girl who outsmarted Scientology. Now that may be a Hollywood finishing together with her Hollywood beyond and ties to Scientology firmly at the back of her. Katie Holmes failed to simply break free. She built a brand new life, one centered absolutely around her daughter. And now Suri Cruise is entering into a new chapter of her own in line with the Daily Mail she's making use of to cold calls throughout the country. Though if Katie has any say in it, she won't be straying too far from domestic. The actress is reportedly hoping Sue stays in New York, maintaining their close-knit bond intact. It's no secret that Katie takes substantial pride in her daughter. Still, she's also famously overprotective, a trait that appears to include the territory, while your exes, Tom Cruise, and your past includes escaping from excessive manipulate religion. Suri Boot is not just any celebrity kid. She's been carving out her personal identity for years, starting with fashion. And this female has always had style, even as infant. She wasn't afraid to voice her evaluations, Holmes once recalled in a 2011 Elle interview. How for your vintage Suri might bluntly critique her clothes these days. I'm carrying brown suede pants, and she advised me, I do not like your pants, however. Then she'll say, put on these footwear. She's got a first-rate eye, brutally sincere, and fashion ahead. It is a deadly combo, but it is no longer all about garments, and Katie also bond over fitness. Holmes instructed Shape Mag that even as she by no means forces workout routines, they clearly overlap. The two had been spotted leaving yoga periods collectively rocking coordinated athleisure seams that perfectly supplement Sue's developing experience of style. Despite her famous last call, Sui has led an exceedingly grounded life, not like some superstar kids who grow up on Fact TV. Sui enjoys the simple pleasures of teenage lifestyles, taking walks, her puppies looking, watching Dirty Dancing, along with her mother and preparing for her destiny. She's even dabbled in Hollywood, little lending her voice to some of Holmes's projects. However, she's far from the spotlight chasing type for now. She's just a younger woman figuring out her next steps, whilst Katie Holmes walked far away from her marriage to Tom Cruise. In 2012, she didn't simply regain her independence. She secured full custody of Suri. That move set the tone for his, or her new existence, one built on Holmes's hustle and dedication. First-rate, recognized for her role in Dawson's Creek, Holmes has steadily built a strong fortune. Her profits from the show reportedly totaled $4. $2 million with Batman begins adding every other $1 million. However, she failed to stop there. Holmes expanded into business ventures and real property pushing. Her estimated internet well worth to $15 million, not terrible for a person who started out in small-town Ohio. As for Tom, even as he hasn't been a regular presence in CU's existence. Allegedly, because of his ties to Scientology, his financial guide hasn't wavered in step with divorce documents. He can pay $400,000 annually in baby assistant, covers all of SU's medical and dental expenses, but resources propose his absence has extra to do with Scientology strict policies on non-believers, and with Suri reportedly no longer being part of the religion that created an unavoidable divide. One thing's for certain, Suri Cruise did not grow up in hand-me-downs. From the instant she could walk, she changed into making fashion statements, and with university on the horizon, she's getting into her future with the identical self-belief, grace, and convenient style feels she's always had for years. Top designers almost tripped over themselves trying to get dressed. Suri Cruise, the daughter of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes, and who would not want their creations on the maximum stylish kindergartners in Hollywood. By the time she was 6 years antique, her cloth wardrobe changed into worth $3 million in couture. For a kid who still needed assist tying her footwear, style Holmes from across the global flooded the Cruise Holes family with custom-made outfits, hoping for even a whisper of free exposure. Katie Holmes absolutely overwhelmed Tom Cruise. Oh, he became living for it, absolutely embracing the glitz and glam, indulging Suri in all the designer pieces her tiny heart favored. However, backstage, the couple's very one-of-a-kind parenting styles had been already growing anxiety when they cut up in 2012. Holmes wasted no time pulling the plug on the style-free for all. She reportedly sent lower back unsolicited present, eliminated Suri from each clothier freebie list and swapped the mini fashionista cloth cabinet for something a touch extra sensible. After leaving Hollywood spotlight, Holmes embraced the fast-paced chaos of New York City, decided to enhance Suri away from the glitz and gossip. For me and my infant, that is our vibe, she informed In Style. And what a vibe it becomes. Suppose countless locations to explore, no paparazzi lurking in the back of each palm tree, and enough distractions to drown out the tabloids with Holmes' astonishing profits. And a regular $400,000 in line with year-end infant aid from Scientology. She locked down a $4 million penthouse in Chelsea with stunning Empire State Building perspectives, and get this, a non-public entrance to Whole Foods in spite of their Manhattan dream life. Holmes, in brief, flirted with the concept of law residing. In 2014, she sold a $8 million property simply outside the city entire, with a swimming pool, fire air pit, basketball court, and an outdoor kitchen, essentially a Pinterest board of superstar luxury. However, consistent with web pages, Holmes in Suri were not often noticed inlay, which says loads reputedly West Coast luxury simply could not compete with New York electricity via 2020. He's bought the mansion for a little over $4 million, note exactly, a massive profit. However, it become time to circulate on maybe the house did not have the attraction they had been hoping for, or maybe Holmes simply ignored the sound of honking cabs and overpriced bagels. Being the daughter of Hollywood, royalty comes with perks like VIP access to the coolest events. In 2015, Suri grew to become heads whilst she attended the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards along with her mother, mingling with fellow superstar offspring, inclusive of Shiloh and Zahara Jolie Pitt. However, she wasn't pretty much crimson carpets later. That 12 months, she hit the global Citizen Festival level in New York, standing along her mother and addressing tens of thousands of people like a seasoned. Although she hasn't jumped into acting, but Suri has dipped her into showbiz on her terms. Holmes, who directs and stars in her movies, has covered her daughter in small, however significant methods in Alone Together, Sue's sensitive cowl of blue moon played over the opening credits, putting the tone for the movie. Her voice popped up once more in Uncommon Items, Holmes's subsequent directorial task displaying simply how near and creatively in sync they are. However, this isn't only a few Hollywood nepotism factor for houses, its personality comes out of affection. She told Glamour to encompass. A person I love dearly may be very significant, whether or not Suri comes to a decision. To observe in her parents' footsteps or forge her path. One element's for sure, she's already leaving her mark, and with denims like hers. Permits be honest, Hollywood will be ready if she ever desires to make our grand entrance, transferring on, as we all recognize. Victoria Beckham's 50th birthday bash turned into the kind of celebration that would make everybody jealous, hosted at the extremely different Oswald's Club in London. It changed into packed with A-listing guests, which include all 5 Spice Girls, and of direction one very familiar face, Tom Cruise in line with the Daily Mail, he became in complete on allure mode, working the room like a seasoned or even taking up the dance floor conventional Cruise right. However, the real shocker of the night wasn't his killer movements, it changed into his surprising reunion with the Beckhams. Reputedly, their friendship hit a hard patch years ago, whilst Tom tried to introduce them to Scientology, and they were not precisely keen to sign on, however. Judging by using their smiles at Victoria's big nighttime, it looks like bygones would possibly subsequently be bygones. Even as Cruise was out there busting movements with the Spice Girls, his daughter Sue turned into quietly celebrating a pretty important milestone, her 18th birthday, and he wasn't there in accordance to. TMZ. Suri spent the day in New York City with a pal, hitting up some iconic spots, and with the aid of all money owed, having a low-key, however satisfied birthday celebration. Her mom, Katie Holmes, wasn't noticed, but given how near they in all likelihood, had a non-public family second. Nonetheless, it failed to move. Not noted that even as Cruise become front and center at a celebrity-packed bash, he turned into absolutely absent from his daughter's massive day. The truth is, Cruise and Suri have not been close for years. Their courting reportedly took a nosedive after Holmes filed for divorce in 2012 and secured sole custody on account that then their father-daughter bond has been practically non-existent, the ultimate time they have been visible. Collectively a Disneyland ride years in the past. In the course of a 2012 courtroom listening to, Cruise admitted that his divorce had made matters not best between them with the aid of 2023. Page 6 confirmed what many had already suspected: they have no significant. Courting, some blame his deep ties to Scientology, others say it is simply Hollywood distance. However, whatever the purpose, the distance between them has best grown wider. That stated, Suri seems to be doing just excellent. She's getting ready to graduate. Excessive college this June, and I's already applying to colleges, according to the Daily Mail. She's looking at universities throughout the USA, even though Holmes is hoping she remains near domestic in New York. In the meantime, Cruise is still living his fine action hero lifestyles, jumping out of planes and stealing the spotlight at A-list parties. However, along with his daughter transferring on to a whole new bankruptcy, one query remains: will he display up for that, or will he be too busy tearing up every other dance ground?